Hi guys! Today is the last round. I can't believe it. Time has flown by like crazy. But today, last round, we're facing Israel. We had a terrible half, honestly, and I really hope that we can finish on a good note. Before I leave to my game, I have a little thing to show you. Every single participant got a free piece next to the board in one of the rounds, and I completely forgot to show you guys, but I got a horsey, and I think in that game I also won the game with the black horsey, so I think it was very fitting. I believe it was somewhere around round 3. I think when we faced Turkey, that's when we got these pieces. And at the bottom you can see European Team Chess Championship in Montenegro. So yay! Really cute, a really nice gift. And this is also the final day that you will see the beautiful views of Montenegro, Budva. It's getting a little cloudy over there again, looking a little scary. But okay, I'm going to my game. Wish us luck, and I'll see you after the game. Bye! Bye bye! Bye bye! Hello there from the Netherlands. We're back home. Yesterday I arrived after a very long travel. I finally got home and I'm so happy to be home. I was really fed up of my hotel room that was literally 50 degrees every single day. But now we're here and I'm so happy to be back, and we still have to talk about round 9. This is the only time I will ever look at this game again. And after that, I will forget about this game. We will never talk about it. This is the only time you'll hear me talk about this game, hopefully. Because what happened was not funny. Where do I even start? So, first and foremost, we were facing Israel. And Dina plays on their team. So I was really excited to see Dina play, but unfortunately she was not paired up against us in the pairing, so they dropped Dina, and instead I was playing the reserve board as well. So I'm also a reserve board player, and I am on board 4 facing Dana Kochavi. And yeah, I was super excited to play. I did see she had a good tournament until this point. So like after 8 rounds, she had a really good performance. So yeah, I was ready to stop that. But yeah, after pretty long preparation, well, I was mainly going over my lines because she was always playing the move e4. So I was really expecting that a lot. So I was ready to play the French. But after d4, d5, she surprised me with knight c3. So she usually used to play knight e2, and I believe she also played e5, the advanced variation. So she played this, and I went with my main line, f4, c5, knight f3, knight c6. It's very common. And here I got a little stuck. So in my usual games, I either play a6. Online, I also bishop e7 just because. And I always also considered queen b6. I have had some games like super long ago with this, I think. But generally speaking, I go a6. And during the tournament, I remember talking to the captain, and he told me that, yeah, let's try to do something else. So I offered to do something else here because I didn't really like how basic and neutral the lines were after a6, etc. So I wanted to spice it up a little bit. I wanted to change it up. So I believe we analyzed he takes d4 for this other game during the tournament, but this never happened. So here I am in this position. I'm like, I don't remember what the line was. I have literally zero idea. Let me also pull up the evaluation bar, by the way, for you guys. But basically, I had zero idea what was going on here. And I just decided to take here because I thought that was cool. And then knight takes d4. And here I am just completely clueless. So I remember something vaguely with queen b6. But after knight a4, I was just stuck. I'm like, what do I do after knight a4? I don't know, check, c3. Apparently I could have just taken there. Oh yeah, because b5, the knight is trapped. But what if knight goes back? I don't know. For some reason, I was just completely stuck here. And I spent so much time here. And after around 15 minutes, I played bishop c5 because I just had no idea what to do here. Queen d2, I play a6, another sort of I don't know what I'm doing move, because usually you want to play a6 right away and let them take. So I was trying to figure out by logic, okay, what makes sense, but I just couldn't figure it out. So I just played some random developing moves, queen e7, because I want to play f6, so I defend the pawn on e6, g3, f6. Here we go. I do have to note, actually, before I move on to the next move, because this position I spend super long time as well. I spent almost 30 minutes. And you know why? Because as she played g3, I was like, ooh, there are so many weak squares around the king. And guess what? How about knight takes c5? So after pawn takes, knight takes e5. So there are quite some threats in the position. So I was considering knight c4. In case this knight ever moves, let's say knight f4, I take on d4, and knight f3 is a very bad threat for my opponent. So this knight can never move from e2, restricting the development, basically, because if it can't move, there is no development for white. My threat is knight c4, so let's say any sort of move happens, bishop g2. I play knight c4, the queen leaves, let's say, somewhere quote-unquote safe. Imagine knight takes here, queen takes e5, and I win material back. So it's completely fine if this were to happen. Apparently knight takes b2 is slightly better because you just take the pawn, and this queen doesn't really have good scores anyway, so we just take the pawn extra with us and then win material back anyway. But the point is that after knight takes e5 here, I thought, okay, what if my opponent just stops the threat that I have? Because the only threat I have, realistically, is knight c4. So what if b3? Well, apparently this is really good for me. So imagine being down a piece for 2 pawns, but you're better. Like, the evaluation says I'm better. So apparently knight g4 is really good, and after something like bishop g1, you just have a really good position after e5. So I did calculate it up until here. And then I thought, okay, is this worth it? Yes or no? And I see that my opponent has very bad development, but I didn't really see what's next because I can't push e4, this pawn drops. I can't push this pawn, and I couldn't really evaluate properly that this was much better for me and it was worth it to go for it. I was really scared of just randomly sacrificing here. I think in a blitz game, I will do it without even thinking about it. But here I thought it's a team competition. It's a really important final round. I'm playing against someone that is lower my rating, so I don't really want to risk for no reason. So I thought, you know, I should be able to pull something off later on in the game without having to sacrifice pieces like this. Like, there's no need to go this crazy. Which is why, after 30 minutes of thinking, I decided, okay, you know what? We're just going to play chess. And I play f6. Which I really regretted because turns out that knight takes e5, either this one or this one, is just really good. So I was really sad about this. But okay, this is not just it, all right? Knight takes c6 happened. Knight d4, and I was really happy about this, actually. Because yeah, I calculated all of this as she was also spending her time. And turns out that I played f takes e5, but turns out that bishop takes d4 is slightly better, which is really interesting. I wasn't really sure about this. Oh, no, actually, I thought bishop takes e5 was going to happen so that you don't lose the pawn. And here I wasn't really sure if I'm happy with my position, yes or no. I have this bishop over here, which will develop at some point, but I'm missing a few knights over here. I would love to have one knight around to attack this pawn, etc. So I wasn't really sure about this line. So instead I took here. After knight takes c6, I decided to take here. So the reason why is because after queen d6, there's a capture on c5 and I'm running into some issues. So let's say, imagine knight takes c5, knight takes e5, and I've lost the pawn. If queen takes c5, then I wasn't really sure what's going on here because once again, I'm down a pawn. And then the final capture, I also considered queen takes c6, but then the bishop just moves, let's say bishop a3, and white has a really fine position. The center looks really strong, but in reality, these bishops are really good. My pieces are very passive, so Yeah, that's why I thought bishop takes e3. Nice intermediate move. Queen takes e3, and here taking on f4. And I was really surprised that she took with the pawn, because I was so certain she would take with the queen or something like that. I don't know. I was thinking of other moves, but I was really surprised to see g takes f4, because her pawns are super weak over here. But in reality, what can I actually do against them? Because I'm trying to give a check here, queen g3, but yeah, I don't really want to trade those queens, because then the pawn problems are fixed of my opponent. So yeah, now knight e5, and I was like, oh man, that's not a good move, because if I take here, I didn't want to take because this pawn seems really strong to me. I didn't really know where to put my queen. I think our coaches did say queen h6 here was pretty good, looked pretty good to them. But I thought it's really easy to play for my opponent still. Okay, the king is not going anywhere, but it's not like I can make use of the fact that this king is weak in the center. I thought it was really easy for my opponent to develop, and this queen is just covering all the important squares. So that's why I thought, I don't really know if I like this. So I just went short castle, attacking the pawn f4, knight e3, rook b8. I'm trying to set up some threats somewhere. I was really hoping that my opponent would feel the need to go long castle, because then I was ready to throw in a knight c5, even though that's apparently not good at all. I was ready to do this because I calculated all of this. So queen b4 check, queen f4, then taking here, and I thought a king has to move somewhere. Let's say king here, then queen f3, and you win the rook. And if king here, queen check, queen, actually there's checkmate apparently. I thought, I was just thinking of queen f3 honestly, but rook f3 is just simply checkmate. But turns out there is queen e3, and I guess you're just going back in circles or something. Yeah. I was ready to go for this line, so that was going to be really interesting if that happened. But she played bishop g2, so she's planning to go short castle, which makes a lot of sense. So I play a5 because I just don't see any other move, and I want to play bishop a6 to get the knight. Short castle, bishop a6, b3, and yeah, I'm coming in with my queen. Here I was starting to feel really confident, even though I'm down on the clock by quite a bit. I started to feel confident here because now I'm finally putting pressure on my opponent. However, queen e1, she really wants to trade queens, and I certainly do not want to trade queens because, well, first of all my advantages will be gone, and I maybe have to be worried about losing this game because my pawns are actually extremely weak. So this is a threat. If I trade queens, let's say rook takes over here, this pawn is super weak, and then if this pawn falls, then d5 pawn also will fall, and it just looks really terrible, and my opponent's pieces are just placed really well. This knight is super strong, and yeah, it looks really difficult altogether. So queen d4 check is what I played, king h1, rook f6, and yeah, here I started to, kind of lose a threat. I really wanted to get going with an attack, but here I dropped the pawn, which I maybe should not have done. Not have allowed, but I didn't really see what else to do, so I was just happy to take this over here. Also, I wanted to defend the pawn on e6, but I guess I should have just been more careful with this. But yeah, I went rook f8, bf8, and knight c5, queen b6, here e5. I started to be really confident still over here because I thought, even though I'm low on the clock, I started to have a really nice attack somehow. So I take on f4, she blocks. I really expected here b4 to happen. I was not entirely sure what I was supposed to do here. Turns out that f3 is just zeros. I'm really shocked at seeing this because I was really scared of bishop takes, but apparently just knight e6 or something like that. Some crazy stuff. So yeah, because this way there's no check on d5, the knight is covering the check, so I guess it makes sense, but during the game I was really freaking out over here. So bishop f3 was played, king h8 just to avoid any sort of check, rook d1, rook f5, knight e6, bishop here, rook here, she takes my knight. It's really sad about that. She offers a queen trade. Of course I do not want to trade queens. Here d4, and here g5. So as it turns out, that was not good at all. But I was really confident here. I really thought, like, we're just going to do this. This pawn on f4 is just super strong, going to f3, rook is going to infiltrate, and we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this dub, and if not for this f pawn, my g pawn will push somehow. One or the other, we're gonna get there. So she plays b5. What I had to play apparently was queen d8, which is some crazy move. I mean, I did not consider this whatsoever because I'm just losing the pawn. But essentially, if rook takes f4, queen e8 check is possible and some crazy stuff. So king g1, there's rook g6, and you're just essentially losing the rook on f4. Crazy. I wish I played this move, but okay. g5 is what I played. b5 was played. I play rook d8 because I'm just simply playing on seconds now. So we're on move 38, a couple of moves left until I gain 30 minutes to my clock. But rook b2 was played, f3, b6, and here I made the bad move, queen f4. So this was exactly move 40. And I was debating between queen f4 and rook e2. And as I saw that rook e2, rook takes, pawn takes, rook takes here, I thought I'm not achieving anything over here. My opponent just has a rook, queen, and pawn, and I have nothing essentially. So this was the reason why I just didn't go for this. I just saw this happen, and I thought, that's it. I'm not going to win this. And apparently there is a repetition here, but I think at this point I would have been okay with a repetition, but I just didn't see it. I just completely neglected this line because I thought I'm just worse. So in those 30 seconds, I quickly realized, okay, but if I play queen f4 first, I threaten rook e2, and things are getting really spicy over here. So queen f4, and then she hit me with the queen c7 move, and I was devastated. I mean, at first I thought, okay, just take, pawn takes, rook c8, we're fine. Rook b8, I play rook e8. If she defends, we're just going to get there with the king, and I'm just going to collect this pawn at some point. However, she doesn't have to do this. She can just take, rook takes, and rook c1. Because guess what? King here, pawn push, king here, pawn push, king here. I'm just going to show you this, and I can't take this pawn because she's just promoting. And after like, I don't know, 10 minutes, I realized this. I realized that I can't take on c7. And I was shocked because I thought, wait, am I losing this? So then it hit me, okay, I have rook b8, I guess. So the pawn is at least not on the 7th rank yet. But apparently that is still lost. So g takes f4, and she took here on f3, which was really logical to me as well. She did spend some time here, but apparently b7 is just completely winning once again. Really shocking to see this. Rook e7, rook here, and just the same idea. She's just pushing the pawn, and she's stopping my pawns very easily with the king. So I was really surprised to see this. So rook takes f3 gave me a lot of chances still. Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, and now we are in a rook endgame that is completely drawn because this rook is stuck on d2. I'm attacking 2 pawns over here, and this king is not able to do anything. So a lot of king moves happened over here, sliding back and forth, h4, h5, rook d1, and here, for whatever ridiculous reason, I have no idea what was going through my mind. I played rook takes a2, and this was the losing move. Unbelievable. I thought rook endgames were supposed to be simple. I guess it was going to be very simple if I just moved my king and just went back and forth. But I decided to make it difficult for myself. Yay! Third game, I had no idea where this rook takes a2 was bad. I did know what the idea was of my opponent, but the thing is that if I move my king back to a 6th rank, I'm going to lose to king e4, and yeah. Well, maybe it's not lost yet, but it's definitely looking really bad. So that's why I thought that, okay, I see a free pawn, I have to take it because less pawns means easier time to draw in a rook endgame. Turns out that I'm wrong and I should not take this pawn whatsoever. This pawn is there shielding me, I guess. It's just helping me because the most important pawn is this pawn on d3. As soon as that pawn is off the board, it's much easier to draw. But if this pawn is off the board, the pawn on a2, and this pawn is still there, there are some issues in the position. So I should have just played king here, do nothing, because this king is not going anywhere. If this rook leaves, I take the pawn here. And if king e2, let's say king here, king e2, I take with check and just retreat to a3 so that the rook is stuck on d1. And yeah, my opponent doesn't really have to do anything. So I took here. And after rook g1, I realized that, okay, she's taking that pawn. So I did not win a pawn. It's just a trade. But turns out that it's much worse than that. I'm just lost here. I'm shocked because I know that the pawn on h4, like, it's not a great pawn to have in the rook endgame. But the reason why it's lost is because there's still this pawn on d3. So she's essentially trying to trade this pawn for that pawn and then just win. So she played really well here. I'm trying to cut off the king here, but rook g3, king g4, and I just can't hold on to cutting off her king. I can't. I'm trying my best. I'm also playing on seconds here, by the way. And I just can't. I can't stop the king from going there. So she takes my pawn, and here it started to hit me that my king is in the wrong spot. Completely wrong spot. So if my king was here, this is a draw, because the pawn is very far off, and I can just keep on giving checks. My king is cut off. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm moving pieces. I'm moving my rook and king, and I'm like, I'm lost. Like, it really started to hit me around here that I'm just losing. And I was so shocked because I was so certain that this rook endgame stuff was, all of it was drawn. I was really freaking out before this already. But this was like a total shock to me. I did not expect to be losing this, and I just can't stop the pawn. The king is just maneuvering around, making sure that it supports the pawn, and she did it amazingly. So yeah, she just has a free bridge made, and what do I do about it? So she plays rook d5, and it's over. I mean, I resigned here, and I was just completely shocked. So this is move 90, by the way. It was a very long game, and I was basically the reason that we didn't win the match. The match ended 2-2, and I was just devastated. Like, not just because of my individual result, but like my game was the reason that we lost. Well, we didn't lose the match, but we didn't win the match. We were supposed to win this because we were already 1-0 ahead, and the others made a draw. So here I'm like just losing the game. So yeah, I was really sad the rest of the evening. I mean, this is the end of the tournament. After 7 games that I've played in the tournament, I am losing a few rating points. So I was super sad because, I mean, after 5 games, I had such a good tournament, right? I was plus 19. And then just the last 2 rounds just ruined it for me completely. So yeah, this was definitely really sad, and it really hurt me so much. But I guess, you know, such is life, and welcome to chess, where it's not all just happiness and, you know, not everything goes according to plan. But yeah, it is definitely a very good learning lesson. I learned a lot. It was really educational for me. I learned a lot throughout this event. I learned another rook endgame. But I also learned that I have to start working on my openings a lot, because during the tournament, I was so focused on preparing every single round. I was trying to prepare and for hours, you know? And I'm very aware of that I shouldn't, but you just can't help yourself to look at the lines, look at other lines, look at this, look at that, and you're just going crazy. And I really noticed that in the final 2 rounds, fatigue started to hit me because I just can't focus on the game. I was looking left and right. I was trying to, you know, like rest during the game because like I just felt really tired. No focus, no concentration, and then things like these just happen. It's just unexplainable. And yeah, the best I can do is just to learn from this and try to do better next time. It's a very sad result, and yeah, it is what it is. What do you do, I guess? All in all, guys, it is a sad finish for us, for the team as well, because we had a really rough second half. But it was definitely another learning experience. I learned so much, as I said, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching the videos, watching the recaps, supporting me throughout this tournament, because despite my rating loss and, you know, the negative ending, it helped me so much knowing that there is a group of people watching, supporting my games, those who are watching the streams and commentary on my streams. It helps so much to know that there's people around supporting you, and no matter what happens, it's really nice to have those people around you. So I would like to thank you guys so much for your support throughout this event. We're going back to studying chess and streaming more on Twitch, yay! But I'm going to do my best to come back stronger in my next OTB event. It's unclear yet when that is going to happen, but I'll keep you updated on that. For now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support throughout the event and after it. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next one.